The great chamber of the Galactic Council stretched for nearly a kilometer in every direction. Thousands of representatives from hundreds of worlds sat in their designated sections, arranged in concentric circles that rose toward the domed ceiling. Today the chamber buzzed with unusual tension. Emergency sessions were rare, and this one had been called with only 6 hours' notice. Ambassador Thelzar of the Zynthian Empire stood at the central platform, his forearms gesturing dramatically as holographic displays materialized around him. His species had led the Council's military forces for over 3,000 years, and his presence commanded immediate attention. "Fellow Council members," Thelzar began, his voice amplified across the vast space, "we face a crisis that threatens the stability our ancestors built over millennia. The humans have betrayed us." A murmur rippled through the assembly. Humans had joined the Galactic Council only 2 centuries ago, a blink of an eye in galactic terms. They were supposed to be the newest members, still learning their place in civilized space. The holographic displays shifted, showing streams of data and energy signatures. "Our deep space monitoring stations have detected massive power fluctuations in the Sol system. The energy readings are consistent with weapons development on a scale we have not seen since the ancient wars." Ambassador Krelix of the Harmonious Collective raised one of her tentacles. "Ambassador Thelzar, humans are known for their industrial activities. Could these not be civilian power stations or manufacturing facilities?" Thelzar's facial plates shifted in what his species considered a smile. It was not a pleasant expression. "We considered that possibility. So we sent covert observation drones into human space." He gestured and new images appeared. They were grainy and distorted, but they showed massive construction projects in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. These structures are being built in complete communication silence. They emit no identification signals. They are hidden behind jamming fields. And look at this. He zoomed in on one particular structure. It was enormous, easily the size of a small moon, and it bristled with what could only be weapon emplacements. The chamber erupted in shocked conversations. Representatives turned to their neighbors, speaking in dozens of languages. The translation system struggled to keep up with the sudden flood of communication. Silence. The voice of the Council Arbiter, an ancient being whose species had founded the Council, echoed through the chamber. "Ambassador Thelzar, what are you proposing?" "We must act immediately," Thelzar declared. "The Treaty of Proxima, which all members sign upon joining the Council, strictly forbids the development of strategic weapons without Council approval. The humans agreed to these terms. They signed the treaty with their own hands. Now they violate it in secret." He paused, letting his words sink in. 200 years ago, we welcomed humans into our community. We shared our knowledge with them. We opened trade routes and cultural exchanges. We treated them as equals despite their primitive technology and violent history. And this is how they repay our trust." Ambassador Chen Wei, the human representative, rose from his seat. He was a small figure compared to most species in the chamber, but he carried himself with dignity. "Council Arbiter, I request permission to speak in defense of my people." The Arbiter gestured approval. Chen Wei walked to the platform, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. "Honored members of the Council," Chen began, "my government has authorized me to state that we are indeed conducting construction projects in our home system. However, these are defensive installations only. We have not violated the treaty." "Defensive?" Thelzar interrupted. "Installations of this magnitude are not defensive. They are preparations for war." Chen Wei's face remained calm. "Ambassador Thelzar, humanity has enemies. The Koresh raiders have attacked our outer colonies 17 times in the past decade. The Council has been unable or unwilling to provide adequate protection. We must be able to defend ourselves." "The Koresh are a minor nuisance," Thelzar waved dismissively. "A few pirates with outdated ships. They pose no real threat. These installations you are building could threaten entire fleets." "Then perhaps," Chen Wei said quietly, "you should not have left us so vulnerable for so long." The chamber erupted again. Some representatives supported the human position, others condemned it. The noise level rose until the Arbiter was forced to activate the silence field, a technology that literally dampened sound waves within the chamber. When order was restored, the Arbiter spoke. "The Council must vote on this matter. Ambassador Thelzar has proposed a blockade of human space until their installations can be inspected and verified as treaty compliant. The alternative is to accept the human explanation and take no action. We will vote now. The voting took less than 10 minutes. The results appeared on the main display. 847 votes for the blockade, only 3 against with several dozen abstentions. Chen Wei stood alone at the platform, his face showing no emotion. How long do we have? 72 hours, the arbiter declared. You will power down your installations and allow inspection teams full access. If you comply, there will be no military action. If you resist, the Council fleet will enforce the blockade by any means necessary. I will relay your decision to my government, Chen Wei said. He bowed slightly and walked back to his seat. As the session adjourned, representatives gathered in small groups discussing the situation. Most seemed satisfied with the outcome. Humans had overstepped, and now they would learn their place. The Council had maintained order for thousands of years. One young species would not disrupt that order. In the Xinthian Military Planning Center, located in a secure section of the Council station, Thelzar met with his fleet commanders. Holographic displays showed the positions of Council military vessels across the galaxy. Begin the assembly, he ordered. I want every available ship at the edge of human space within 60 hours. We will have a full coalition fleet, representatives from every major military power. The humans need to see overwhelming force. Sir, one of his commanders asked, what if they actually comply? What if they power down their installations? Thelzar's facial plates shifted again in that unpleasant smile. Then we inspect them thoroughly. We document everything. We ensure they never pose a threat again. He paused. And if they do not comply, we remind the galaxy why the Xinthian Empire has kept the peace for 3 millennia. Over the next 2 days, ships began to gather. Xinthian dreadnoughts, massive vessels bristling with weapons, harmonious collective carriers launching clouds of fighter craft, crystalline ships from the Silent Ones, whose weapons could slice through shields like they were not there. Vessels from 47 different species, over 12,000 ships in total. It was the largest fleet assembled since the ancient wars ended 5,000 years ago. On Earth, in the underground command center beneath the Atlantic Ocean, human military leaders watched the fleet assembly with grim expressions. Admiral Sarah Chen, no relation to the ambassador, studied the tactical displays. They are bringing everything they have, her intelligence officer reported. Updated count is now 12,300 vessels. They are arranging in a standard blockade formation. Estimated human defensive capabilities, Admiral Chen asked. Public fleet assets total 217 ships, Admiral. Against 12,000, we would last approximately 40 minutes in direct combat. Admiral Chen nodded slowly. Send the signal. All stations execute Protocol Nightfall. It is time to show them what humans can really do. Across human space, in hidden facilities that had been built in absolute secrecy for nearly a century, technicians began powering up systems that had never been used in combat. Deep in the asteroid belt, inside hollowed moons in the dark spaces between stars, humanity prepared to reveal its true strength. The 72 hours were almost up. The galaxy was about to learn a lesson it would never forget. The coalition fleet hung at the edge of human space like a swarm of angry insects. 12,300 vessels representing 47 different species and military traditions, all arranged in perfect blockade formation. It was a display of power that would have made any civilization think twice about resistance. Commander Vexril of the Xinthian Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Victory. The ship was over 2 kilometers long, one of the largest vessels in the galaxy. Its weapons could reduce a planet's surface to molten glass. Around him, officers monitored hundreds of displays showing the positions of every ship in the fleet. Status report, Vexril commanded. All fleet elements in position. Commander, his tactical officer responded. The deadline expired 17 minutes ago. We have received no response from human forces. Have our scouts detected any human military vessels? Yes, Commander. Approximately 200 ships, mostly concentrated around Earth and Mars. They are maintaining defensive positions but have not powered weapons. Vexril allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. 200 ships against 12,000. The humans must realize how hopeless their situation was. Perhaps they would surrender without a fight. That would be preferable. The Council wanted to make a point, not exterminate humanity. Open a channel to the human fleet, he ordered. A moment later, the face of Admiral Sarah Chen appeared on his main display. She was a human female, relatively young for a flag officer by galactic standards. Her expression was calm, almost bored. "Admiral Chen," Vexril began, "your government's deadline has expired. You have not powered down your installations or granted access to inspection teams. The Council has authorized me to enforce the blockade by any means necessary. However, I am prepared to be reasonable. Surrender now, and no harm will come to your people." Admiral Chen was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was not a happy smile. "Commander Vexril," she said slowly, "did you know that humans have a saying? It goes like this: do not mistake kindness for weakness." Before Vexril could respond, every sensor on every ship in the Coalition fleet screamed warnings simultaneously. "Commander," his science officer shouted, "I am detecting massive gravitational anomalies. Multiple points across the fleet formation. Space-time is distorting." "What? That is impossible. What could cause—" He never finished the sentence. On the main view screen, reality itself began to tear. It started as a shimmer, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Then the shimmer became a ripple, and the ripple became a wound in space. The fabric of the universe was being pulled apart by forces that should not exist. And through that wound, something emerged. The vessel that appeared defied every principle of ship design that the galaxy had developed over millions of years. It was massive beyond comprehension. 400 kilometers from bow to stern, bristling with structures and systems that sensors could barely identify. Its hull was not metal or crystal or any known material. It seemed to absorb light, making it look like a hole in space itself. Reading energy signatures, his science officer stammered, "Commander, the power output of that single vessel exceeds our entire fleet combined, by a factor of 10. Before anyone could react, more rifts opened, one after another. Identical vessels emerged from nowhere. They arranged themselves in a perfect sphere around the Coalition fleet. Vexril's tactical display updated frantically, adding new contacts: 10 vessels, 20, 30, 37, 37 ships, each larger than anything in the Coalition fleet, each radiating more power than should be possible, and every sensor in the Xinthian fleet reported the same impossible data. These ships had been there all along, cloaked, invisible, watching. "All ships, emergency channel," a calm voice said in perfect galactic standard. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Space Navy. You are surrounded by 37 Prometheus-class strategic vessels. You have entered our space with hostile intent. You came to our home uninvited and armed." The channel switched to show the interior of one of the human vessels. Admiral Chen stood on a bridge that seemed more like a cathedral than a warship's command center. Behind her, holographic displays showed every single ship in the Coalition fleet. Each one was marked with targeting data. "I am going to give you the same choice you gave us," Chen continued. "You have 72 hours to leave human space. If you do not, we will interpret your presence as an act of war. And unlike you, we do not make empty threats." Vexril found his voice. "This is insane. You cannot threaten the Galactic Council. We represent the combined military might of hundreds of worlds. You are one species, one system, are we?" Chen asked. On the displays behind her, more contacts appeared. Not ships this time, but installations. Thousands of them scattered throughout human space. "These are our defensive platforms. Each one is equipped with weapons that you would classify as planet killers. We built them over the past century. We built them in secret. We built them while your council was too busy congratulating itself on keeping young races weak and dependent." She leaned forward. "You want to inspect our installations? Go ahead, send your teams. But they will find exactly what I told you. Defensive systems. Systems we needed because the Council failed to protect us. Systems we built because we learned a very important lesson from galactic history." "And what lesson is that?" Vexril asked, his voice barely controlled. "That peace is maintained by strength," Chen replied. "That predators respect prey only when the prey has teeth. You taught us that lesson very well, Commander. For 200 years we asked for protection from raiders. For 200 years the Council did nothing. So we protected ourselves." Another Xinthian officer spoke up. "Commander, I am detecting weapons charging on the human vessels. Energy levels are off the scale. All fleet ships charge weapons," Vexril ordered. "Prepare to engage." Across the Coalition fleet, thousands of weapons came online. Energy signatures blazed across the spectrum as ships prepared to fire. It was enough firepower to destroy a solar system. The human ships did not move. They simply hung there in space, waiting. "Fire," Vexril commanded. Thousands of weapons discharged simultaneously. Energy beams, missiles, plasma torpedoes, and exotic weapons from dozens of different species all converged on the nearest human vessel. It was enough destructive force to vaporize a small moon. The attack hit the human ship's shields and simply stopped. The energy did not dissipate or scatter. It was absorbed, converted, and stored. The human vessel glowed brighter for a moment, its shields turning the incoming fire into additional power. Silence fell across the coalition fleet. Every commander, every officer, every crew member stared at their displays in disbelief. They had just thrown everything they had at one human ship, and it had taken no damage at all. "Thank you," Admiral Chen said calmly. "You just charged our weapons for us. Now let me show you what we can do." One of the Prometheus-class vessels shifted position slightly. A single weapon port opened on its bow, no larger than a shuttle bay. Energy began to gather there, visible even to the naked eye. It was a deep, brilliant blue that hurt to look at. "This is a quantum disruptor," Chen explained. "It operates by manipulating fundamental forces at the subatomic level. We are currently running it at 0.3% power. We are going to fire it at one of your ships. I apologize in advance to the crew, but you need to understand what you are dealing with." "All ships evasive," Vexril began. The weapon fired. There was no dramatic flash, no explosion. One moment a Xinthian cruiser was there. The next moment it simply was not. Matter converted directly to energy. 2,000 crew members ceased to exist in a fraction of a second. "At full power," Chen continued, "that weapon could destroy a star. We have 4,000 of them on this ship alone, and we have 37 of these ships. Do you understand now, Commander Vexril? Do you understand why we built in secret?" The coalition fleet hung in space, paralyzed by shock and fear. Every ship that had come to enforce the Council's will now faced the terrifying realization that they were not the hunters. They were the prey. Admiral Chen's expression softened slightly. "We did not want this, Commander. We wanted to be part of the galactic community. We wanted to contribute and learn and grow, but you came here with warships. You came with ultimatums. You came to our home and you threatened our families. So now you know the truth. Now you know what humans can do when we are pushed." She gestured, and the tactical display behind her updated one final time. New contacts appeared across the entire galaxy. Hundreds of them. Thousands. "Those are human vessels," she said quietly. "Monitoring ships, intelligence platforms, defensive drones. They have been in position around every council world for the past 50 years. Watching, waiting, recording everything. We know where your children go to school, Commander. We know where your leaders sleep at night. We know everything about you. And you knew nothing about us." Vexril felt something he had not experienced in decades of military service. Fear. "You have 72 hours, Admiral Chen repeated. "Leave our space, return to your worlds, and tell the Council that humanity is done being afraid. Tell them that the prey has teeth now. Tell them that if they ever threaten us again, we will show them what happens when humans decide to stop being nice." Commander Vexril stood frozen on the bridge of the Eternal Victory, staring at the tactical display that showed 37 human vessels surrounding his fleet. Every instinct he had developed over 40 years of military service screamed at him to retreat. But his pride and his faith in Xinthian superiority would not let him accept what he was seeing. "Commander," his communications officer said quietly, "we are receiving priority messages from 17 fleet captains. They are requesting permission to withdraw." "Denied," Vexril said sharply. "All ships maintain position." His executive officer, a younger Xinthian named Krelvan, moved closer. "Sir, with respect, we just witnessed a weapon that can eliminate a ship without trace. Our entire first salvo was ineffective. Perhaps we should consider—" "Consider what?" Vexril snapped. "Retreat? Surrender? We represent the Galactic Council. We cannot show weakness to one upstart species. They are bluffing." "Sir, that cruiser had 2,000 crew members. They are not bluffing." Vexril turned to face his second-in-command. "The humans destroyed one ship to make a point, but they cannot possibly have the power to destroy our entire fleet. Look at the energy expenditure required for that weapon. Even if their ships are as powerful as they claim, they could not sustain fire against 12,000 targets." He moved to the command console. "We have superior numbers. We have proven tactics. We have the backing of the entire galactic community. What we are seeing is elaborate deception, holographic projection perhaps, sensor manipulation. The humans are clever. I will give them that. But they are not invincible. Krelvan looked uncertain but said nothing more. Discipline in the Xinthian military was absolute. Tactical analysis, Vexril ordered. Assume the human vessels are real, and their weapons are functional. What are our options? The tactical officer worked quickly, running simulations. Sir, if we concentrate fire from multiple fleet elements on a single target, we might be able to overwhelm their shields. Once we destroy one of their large vessels, it would demonstrate they are vulnerable. Good, prepare firing solution. Target the closest human ship. All heavy weapons from the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd battle groups. We will destroy one of their precious giants and end this charade. Commander, the communications officer interrupted. We are receiving another transmission from the human flagship. Admiral Sarah Chen appeared on the screen again. Her expression had changed. The calm patience was gone, replaced by something harder. Commander Vexril, my sensors indicate you are preparing to fire again. I am asking you, please do not do this. You have seen what our weapons can do. You have lost one ship already. Do not force me to kill more of your people. Admiral Chen, Vexril replied. You are right about one thing. I did see what your weapon can do against a single cruiser. But you are surrounded by 12,000 ships. You cannot fight us all. Surrender now, and I will guarantee safe passage for your people. Chen was silent for a moment. Then she sighed. I tried to warn you. Remember that. Whatever happens next, I tried to warn you. The transmission ended. All ships, Vexril commanded. Fire on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. 3 entire battle groups opened fire simultaneously. Over 2,000 ships discharged their weapons at the human vessel designated Target Alpha. The amount of destructive energy was incalculable. Space itself lit up with the fury of the assault. The human ship sat in the center of the firestorm, completely motionless. Its shields absorbed every bit of energy, every projectile, every exotic weapon effect. The shield around the vessel glowed brighter and brighter as it converted the incoming attack into stored power. When the firing stopped, the human ship was undamaged. If anything, it looked more energized than before. Impossible, Vexril whispered. Then the human ships responded. Not all of them, just 3. 3 of the Prometheus-class vessels opened multiple weapon ports along their hulls. Blue energy gathered at each point. When they fired, it was with precision and restraint. Each beam targeted a single coalition vessel. Each beam was calibrated to disable rather than destroy. Ships lost power. Weapons offline. Life support failing but still functioning. In 30 seconds, 3 human ships disabled 200 coalition vessels. Evasive maneuvers, Vexril shouted. All ships scatter. The coalition fleet broke formation. Thousands of ships trying to escape the killing ground. It was chaos. Ships collided as they fled in every direction. Smaller vessels tried to hide behind larger ones, some captains panicking. Engaged hyperspace drives without calculating safe vectors. 3 ships vanished into hyperspace and would not be seen again, lost in the depths of space forever. The human ships did not pursue. They simply watched as the mighty coalition fleet dissolved into a mob of terrified survivors. Admiral Chen's voice came through every speaker on every ship simultaneously. Stop running. We are not trying to destroy you. If we wanted you dead, you would already be gone. Stop running. Slowly, reluctantly, the coalition ships began to halt their flight. They hung in space, scattered and disorganized, waiting to see what would happen next. I'm going to tell you something now, Chen continued. Something your council does not want you to know. But you deserve the truth. All of you deserve to know why we built these ships. Why we hid for a century. Why we were so afraid. On every ship's display, data began to appear. Files, images, historical records. Information that had been classified by the Galactic Council for thousands of years. 73,000 years ago, Chen began, a species called the Vexilani achieved faster-than-light travel. They were explorers and scientists. They joined the galactic community with joy and hope. Within 500 years, they had advanced their technology significantly. They began to rival the Council's elder races. So the Council declared them a threat and destroyed them. Completely. Every world, every colony, every ship, nothing remained. More data appeared. Different species, different time periods, but always the same story. 51,000 years ago, the Harshan developed advanced weapons to defend against pirate raids. The council declared them in violation of treaties and imposed a blockade. When the Harshin resisted, they were eliminated. 39,000 years ago, the Kryloth achieved breakthroughs in dimensional physics. They offered to share their discoveries with the council. The council thanked them by sterilizing their homeworld. The list went on: 17 species, 17 civilizations that had been destroyed by the council over the millennia, not because they were evil or aggressive, because they were smart, because they advanced too quickly, because they threatened the established order. The council maintains peace, Chen said bitterly, by ensuring no one can challenge them. They keep everyone weak. They suppress dangerous knowledge. They smile and talk about cooperation while they sharpen their knives behind their backs. This is the truth about the galaxy you serve. Vexril stared at the data scrolling across his screens. He wanted to dismiss it as propaganda. But the files had council encryption. The authentication codes were genuine. This information had come from council archives. When humanity joined the galactic community, Chen continued, we were excited. We thought we had found friends among the stars. But we started to notice things. Questions we asked that went unanswered. Research topics that were discouraged. Warnings about advancing too quickly. And then we found the first data cache. The Vexilani left behind hidden archives before they were destroyed. So did the Harshin and the Kryloth. They left warnings for whoever came after them. They left evidence of what the council really is. And they left something else. Knowledge. Technology. Everything they had learned before they died. We studied those archives in secret. We learned from 17 extinct civilizations. We discovered that the laws of physics are not as limiting as the council claims. We developed technology that the council says is impossible, and we built these ships to ensure that humanity would never become extinct species number 18. The data file stopped scrolling, replaced by an image of Earth seen from space, the blue marble that had given birth to humanity. We did not want to be your enemies, Chen said. We wanted to be your partners. Your equals, but you came here to destroy our defenses, to leave us weak and helpless, to put us back in our place. So now you know the truth. Now you know that everything you were told about the council's benevolence is a lie. Now you have to decide what you are going to do about it. Commander Vexril felt his entire worldview crumbling. He had served the Zynthian Empire and the Galactic Council his entire adult life. He had believed in their mission. He had thought they were protecting the galaxy from chaos and war, but the data did not lie. The authentication codes were real, and somewhere in his heart he had always wondered why the council was so afraid of progress. All ships, he said quietly. Stand down. Power down weapons. Maintain position but take no hostile action. Sir? Krelvin asked. We came here believing we were enforcing peace, Vexril said. We came here believing the humans were a threat. But I think we have been lied to. I think we have all been lied to for a very long time. He opened a channel to the human flagship. Admiral Chen, I am requesting permission to meet with you. Face to face. I want to see this evidence with my own eyes. I want to know everything. Commander Vexril's shuttle approached the human vessel Prometheus with a mixture of fear and curiosity. The ship was even more massive up close. Its hull was dark, almost black, and seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange patterns covered its surface, geometric shapes that hurt to look at directly. His pilot, a young Zynthian officer, kept adjusting their approach vector nervously. Sir, their docking bay is larger than our flagship, the pilot observed. It was true. The shuttle passed through an opening that could have swallowed 3 Zynthian dreadnoughts. Inside, the bay was brightly lit and filled with smaller human vessels. Fighters, shuttles, and craft whose purposes Vexril could not identify. Human crew members in dark blue uniforms moved with purpose, maintaining equipment and running diagnostics. When the shuttle landed, a honor guard was waiting. 12 humans in formal military dress standing at attention. At their center was Admiral Sarah Chen, wearing a uniform decorated with insignias Vexril did not recognize. He stepped off the shuttle, and Chen extended her hand in the human gesture of greeting. After a moment's hesitation, he took it. Her grip was firm but not aggressive. Welcome aboard the Prometheus, Commander, Chen said. Thank you for accepting my invitation. Thank you for not destroying my fleet, Vexril replied. Chen smiled slightly. We are not monsters, Commander, despite what your council may have told you about us. Come, there is much to show you. She led him through corridors that were clean and functional but also strangely decorated. Art hung on the walls. Images of Earth, of human history, of the stars. It was not like any military vessel he had seen. It felt lived in, human. How many crew does this ship carry? He asked. 43,000, Chen replied. Plus support staff civilians and their families. Families? You have civilians aboard a warship? The Prometheus is not just a warship, Commander. It is a colony ship, a research station, a last refuge if Earth ever falls. We built these vessels to be self-sufficient for centuries if necessary, because we learned from history. We learned that civilizations can be destroyed. So we made sure humanity could survive even if our homeworld burned. They entered an elevator that descended for what felt like several minutes. When the doors opened, Vexril found himself in an enormous chamber. It was part archive, part museum. Holographic displays floated everywhere, showing information in hundreds of languages. This is the archive of lost voices, Chen said quietly. Everything we recovered from the 17 extinct species is stored here. Their history, their culture, their warnings. We have spent a century studying these records, trying to understand what happened to them, trying to make sure it does not happen to us, she gestured, and one display expanded. It showed a species Vexril did not recognize. Four-legged beings with crystalline body structures, beautiful and delicate. The Vexilani, Chen said. They were the first ones we learned about. 73,000 years ago, they were artists and philosophers. They loved music. They created sculptures from solid light that could last for centuries, and they advanced too quickly so the Council erased them. Another gesture, another display. The Harshan, brilliant engineers. They invented the quantum field generator, which the Council now uses in all their ships. The Council took their technology and destroyed them to keep the secret. More displays, more species, each one with their own story. Each one ended by the Galactic Council's desire to maintain control. Vexril felt ill. How did you find all this? These records should have been destroyed. They tried to destroy them, Chen replied. But data is harder to kill than living beings. The extinct species hid archives in deep space, in pocket dimensions, in quantum storage that could survive for millennia. They left messages for whoever came after them, warning us, trying to save us from their fate. She walked to a central console. Come here, Commander. I want to show you something specific. The console displayed a timeline of galactic history, stretching back hundreds of thousands of years. Chen pointed to regular intervals marked in red. Every 10 to 15,000 years, she said, a new species rises. They advance quickly. They show promise. And then they disappear. Always the same pattern. Always the same result. The Council declares them a threat, imposes sanctions, and then eliminates them when they resist. But why? Vexril asked. Why would the Council do this? What purpose does it serve? Control, Chen answered. The elder races achieved their power through time and accumulated knowledge. But they know that any young species could potentially surpass them with new ideas and fresh perspectives, so they prevent that from happening. They keep everyone else dependent on them. They maintain their position at the top of the hierarchy. She brought up another display, this one showing council structure. Look at the voting patterns over the past 50,000 years. The same 15 species always hold the key positions. The same families within those species maintain power generation after generation. It is not a democracy, Commander. It is an oligarchy enforced through fear. Vexril studied the data. His own species, the Xinthians, were prominently featured as military enforcers. He felt shame burning through him. We are tools, he said quietly. My people are just tools they use to eliminate threats. Yes, Chen said gently. But you did not know. Most of the galaxy does not know. The Council has been very careful to hide the truth. They control information. They control history. They control education. Everyone grows up learning that the Council saved the galaxy from chaos, that they brought peace and order, and for most species that seems to be true. As long as you stay weak, as long as you stay obedient, the Council protects you. What changed for humanity? Vexril asked. What made you realize the truth? Chen walked to another display. 57 years ago, a human exploration ship encountered a derelict structure near the galactic rim. It was a Vexilani research station, perfectly preserved in a quantum stasis field. Inside, we found their archives. Everything they knew, everything they feared. And we found this. She activated a recording. A Vexilani appeared, one of the crystalline beings. They spoke in their own language, but translation subtitles appeared below. To whoever finds this message, we greet you with hope and sorrow. Hope that you have survived long enough to discover our warning. Sorrow that you will face the same enemies we faced. The Galactic Council is not what it claims to be. It is a prison disguised as a paradise. It will welcome you with open arms and slowly, carefully cut off your wings. By the time you realize what is happening, it will be too late. Unless you prepare. Unless you hide your true strength. Unless you build in secret as we should have done. The recording continued. We failed because we trusted them. We believed their promises of cooperation and mutual advancement. We did not understand that they feared us, that our potential threatened their control. Learn from our mistake. Be stronger than we were. Be smarter. And if you must fight them, fight to win. The recording ended. Vexril stood in silence, processing everything he had learned. After we found that archive, Chen continued, we searched for others. We found 16 more. Each one told the same story. Each one provided technology and knowledge. We realized that humanity had two choices. We could accept our place as obedient children, limited and controlled by the Council, or we could prepare for the day when the Council decided we were too dangerous to exist. So you built this fleet in secret, Vexril said. Not just the fleet. We built research facilities in alternate dimensions. We established colonies in deep space that do not appear on any Council map. We created a shadow network that could continue human civilization, even if Earth was destroyed. We prepared for genocide, Commander, because we learned that genocide is what the Council does to species that threaten them. She turned to face him directly, and we were right to prepare. Your fleet came to our home with ultimatums and weapons. You came to force us to disarm. And if we had complied, how long would it have been before the Council found an excuse to eliminate us entirely? 5 years? 10? A generation? Vexril had no answer, because he knew she was right. He had seen the pattern now. He understood how the system worked. What do you want? He asked. You have all this power. You have weapons that can destroy the Council. You could conquer the galaxy if you wanted to. Chen shook her head. We do not want to conquer anyone, Commander. We just want to be free. We want every species to be free. We want a galaxy where advancement is encouraged, not punished. Where young civilizations are not kept weak and dependent. Where the future is not controlled by the past. The Council will never accept that, Vexril said. I know, Chen replied. That is why we are going to give them no choice. Your fleet came here to enforce the Council's will. Instead, you are going to return and tell them that the old order is finished, that humanity will not submit, that any species that wants to join us in building a new galactic community is welcome, and that if the Council tries to maintain control through force, we will respond with overwhelming force of our own. She walked to a window that looked out into space. The Coalition fleet was visible in the distance, thousands of ships hanging motionless. We did not start this confrontation, Commander, but we are going to finish it. The galaxy is going to change. 3 weeks had passed since the confrontation at the edge of human space. 3 weeks since Commander Vexril returned to his fleet with evidence that shattered everything the galaxy believed about its own history. 3 weeks since the Coalition fleet limped home, defeated without firing more than a few futile shots. Now, the Galactic Council chambers looked very different. Through the massive windows that ringed the Great Hall, 30 Prometheus-class vessels hung in perfect formation. They had not been invited. They had simply appeared one day, decloaking around the Council station. They had not fired weapons or made threats. They just waited, watching, a silent reminder that the rules had changed. Inside the chamber, chaos reigned. Representatives from hundreds of worlds shouted at each other in dozens of languages. The translation systems had given up trying to keep pace. Factions had formed overnight. Some species supported the Council's traditional authority. Others had seen the evidence that humanity provided and demanded answers. Still others simply wanted to avoid becoming casualties in a war between titans. Ambassador Thelzar of the Zynthian Empire stood at his usual platform, but his bearing had changed. The arrogance was gone. In its place was something like uncertainty. The Council recognizes the ambassador from the Harmonious Collective, the Arbiter announced, trying to maintain some semblance of order. Ambassador Krelix rose, her tentacles coiled with agitation. The question before us is simple. Did the Council systematically eliminate 17 species over the past 70,000 years for the crime of advancing too quickly? Yes or no? A wave of shouting erupted. The elder races, those who had sat on the council since its founding, tried to drown out the question. But too many voices were demanding an answer. The Arbiter, one of the ancient beings who had helped create the council, finally spoke. His voice, amplified and enhanced by technology, cut through the noise like a blade. Yes. Silence fell across the chamber. The single word hung in the air, undeniable and damning. We did what was necessary to maintain peace, the Arbiter continued. The galaxy had been torn apart by wars between advanced species. Billions died. Worlds burned. When we established the council, we made a sacred vow. Never again. We would prevent any species from achieving the technology that could threaten galactic stability. By committing genocide, a voice called out from the audience. It was Ambassador Chen Wei of humanity, standing in his designated section. You maintained peace through mass murder. We maintained peace, the Arbiter replied. For 70,000 years, the galaxy has known relative stability. Yes, the cost was high, but the alternative was chaos. Endless war. Extinction for all. That was your choice to make? Chen Wei walked down to the main floor, a breach of protocol that would normally have had him removed by security. But the guards did not move. Everyone wanted to hear what the human would say. You appointed yourselves judge and executioner, Chen Wei continued. You decided that some species deserve to live and others deserve to die. Based on what? Their curiosity? Their intelligence? Their unwillingness to accept arbitrary limits on their potential? Based on threat assessment, Thelzar spoke up. His voice was quieter than usual. Based on the danger they posed to everyone else. Did the Vexril threaten anyone? Chen Wei demanded. They were artists and philosophers. Did the Harshan attack your worlds? They were engineers and builders. Or did they simply have the audacity to be better than you, to advance faster than you thought appropriate? He pulled out a data pad and threw it onto the central platform. The evidence is all there. Every species you destroyed, every excuse you made, every time you lied to the galaxy about what really happened. It is all documented in the archives of the dead, the archives you tried to erase but failed. More shouting erupted. Representatives who had seen the evidence demanded accountability. Those loyal to the council tried to defend its actions. The chamber descended into chaos again. Then a new voice cut through the noise. It came from every speaker in the chamber simultaneously, bypassing the normal communication protocols. Enough. Admiral Sarah Chen appeared on the main display, broadcasting from the flagship Prometheus. She was not alone. Behind her stood representatives from a dozen species, young races who had chosen to support humanity's call for change. The time for debate is over, Chen said. The council has admitted its crimes. The evidence is undeniable. What matters now is what happens next. The old system is finished. The question is what will replace it. The Arbiter's ancient face showed something that might have been anger. You have no authority here, Admiral. This is a council matter. I have the authority that comes from superior force, Chen replied bluntly. Let us not pretend otherwise. My ships surround the station. I have weapons that can reduce it to atoms. You maintained your power through the threat of violence. Now someone stronger has arrived. By your own rules, that gives me authority. Is that what this is? Krelix asked, her voice trembling. One tyranny replaced by another? Human domination instead of council control? No, Chen said firmly. Because unlike the council, we actually mean what we say about freedom and cooperation. Here is what humanity proposes. The Galactic Council is dissolved. In its place, we establish a true democratic federation. Every species gets a voice, weighted by population but not dominated by size alone. The suppression treaties are abolished. All species have access to advanced research, with only two restrictions. First, weapons of planetary genocide are prohibited for everyone, including humanity. Second, all military vessels must be registered and their capabilities made public. She paused, letting the proposal sink in. There will be no more secret police. No more disappeared civilizations. No more lies about galactic history. Everything will be open, transparent. And if any species, including humanity, tries to dominate others, the entire Federation will rise against them. Impossible, the Arbiter said. Such a system would collapse into chaos. Young species cannot be trusted with advanced technology. We learned this lesson through blood and fire. You learned that lesson because you created the conditions for conflict, Chen countered. You kept species desperate and weak. You created resentment and fear, and then you used that fear to justify your control. It is a cycle that has to end. Ambassador Chen Wei spoke up again. The evidence shows that the extinct species were not warmongering conquerors. They were simply advancing naturally. The Council destroyed them preemptively, based on the assumption that they would become threats. But that assumption was never tested. You never gave them a chance, and you will? Telzar asked. You will give every species access to weapons that could destroy civilizations, and simply hope they do not use them? No, Chen said. We will give them access to knowledge and watch carefully. The monitoring network humanity built over the past 50 years will remain active, but it will be shared with the entire Federation. Everyone watches everyone else. Transparency enforces peace better than secrecy ever could. She leaned forward, her expression intense. Commander Vexril visited my ship. He saw the evidence. He understood what the Council really is. His report to his government led to Xinthian withdrawal from Council military operations. That was the first crack in your authority. Others will follow. Indeed, over the past 3 weeks, 17 species had announced they would no longer support Council military actions. The coalition that had assembled to blockade humanity had fractured. Some species returned home in shame. Others joined the growing movement for reform. We are giving you a choice, Chen continued. The same choice you gave us. Accept the new order peacefully, or resist and face the consequences. But understand this. We are not bluffing. We are not negotiating from a position of hope. We are negotiating from a position of absolute power, and we are prepared to use that power if necessary. The Arbiter looked around the chamber, at representatives who were divided, confused, afraid, at the ancient power structure crumbling around him, at the human ships visible through the windows, silent and waiting. If we refuse, he asked quietly, then this station will be evacuated and dismantled. Chen replied without hesitation. The Council worlds will be blockaded until you agree to free elections. Any military resistance will be met with overwhelming force. We will not kill civilians. We will not destroy worlds. But we will destroy your ability to maintain control through fear. That is a promise. The chamber fell silent. The weight of the moment pressed down on everyone present. This was the end of an era. The end of 70,000 years of Council dominance. The end of a system that had kept the galaxy stable through suppression and control. Vote, the Arbiter finally said. All representatives vote now. Do we accept the human proposal or do we resist? The voting took 20 minutes. When it was finished, the results appeared on the main display. 543 votes to accept, 287 votes to resist, 103 abstentions. The Council had fallen. Over the following weeks, the transition began. The old power structures were dismantled carefully but thoroughly. The suppression treaties were formally abolished. Research that had been classified for millennia was released to the public.